Hello, Mia DeBolt here, bringing you more transparency in trading. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey to the seven-figure mark. I look forward to sharing this video with you because I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. So first question for you is, have you ever had a losing streak where you just feel like doing this? So all playing aside, the losing streak that I'm currently on is something that happens with all traders' journeys. So I do have some really important lessons to be learned in this video, because when it comes to digging yourself out of a hole or taking yourself not so seriously and getting back on track with your pattern, with your trading plan, it's so important that you arrest the fall. So what do I mean by that? I mean that when you recognize that maybe you're having too much FOMO or you're focused on the wrong types of things in your trading, it's really important to self-assess what it is that you can do differently. Okay, so I'm going to share that with you in this video. And let's just dive in so that we can review my trades and then also show you exactly where I'm at in my account. So today is day 11 of the Funded Trader Challenge, and I still haven't started my FTMO challenge because I am focused on the Funded Trader. Okay, so this morning I literally did not sleep very well. I had a stint of maybe 2 or 3 hours of rolling around in bed, and quite frankly, it drives me nuts because when I wake up and I'm not lucid, I'm not completely focused on the charts and completely focused on my trading, it really starts to affect my trading. So you can kind of see that in my trading today. You can see that I had the maximum amount of sleep that I could get out of the time that I was in bed. However, it just didn't translate into my trading as effectively as I wanted. So tune in to the end of this video because quite frankly, it was a losing day and I am underwater with my account, and it's important that we take an assessment of where we're at, how we're feeling, and really get in tune with what we're actually doing this for. So I have some lessons learned, and I also have some things that I might do differently at the end of this video, so make sure that you tune in. Okay, so without further ado, let's take a look at the charts. Okay, so this morning I woke up and at 5:30 was the red folder news, and the red folder news did push price down like we were anticipating with the E-mini, and it did push price up with the daily of the DXY. So this is kind of what I was looking at when I started, and you can kind of see that I actually did the regular trading hours down here. We have the RTH down here, and that's the regular trading hours, and it shows the big gap for the opening range. So this is where I made my mistake of kind of having FOMO, because I woke up at, it's already almost 8 o'clock my time, and I'm already taking a look at this. I'm already analyzing the opening range, and it's already come back into the opening range, which I love to see, and it's starting to push down. There's equal lows down here, and the DXY had a lot of liquidity up here in the way of imbalance and fair value gaps. Okay, so this is where I was just marking up, and I'm gonna fast forward to kind of where I got a little bit of FOMO. So I wanted to bring this up because, not because I took this trade, but because I was marking it up and I did see how beautiful this trade was. It fit all my confirmations. As you can see, it was here and it had overlapping candles. It was going back into the opening range, and it basically created these equal lows, had liquidity down here. And so it was a beautiful trade that I missed because I was not on the charts, because I was wrestling with my sleep. So that was a little bit frustrating, and I was focused on that. And so I did get a little bit of the FOMO out of my system by paper trading. I won my paper trade, which is great. It was a small little win down here. I think it was like 2% or whatnot. But the fact of the matter was that I missed the optimal trade for the morning session. So I went into the PM session kind of with that FOMO in my head. So you can see here, this would have been a 6.4% win, and only take 1 hour and 10 minutes or so. And so that really kind of bothered me because I also saw another trade with my pattern yesterday for FOMC, and I did not take that as well because of the FOMC event. So 2 days in a row I missed my trade, and this one was quite frankly because I was trying to get the sleep that I needed. So I'm going to do something drastically different because I have been getting good sleep. It was just last night's sleep that didn't fit the 7 hours. And so that's kind of where I'm going to throw out my rule of getting enough sleep as long as I've had good sleep for the past week or so. So if my average sleep is not 7 hours, and that way I don't miss opportunities like this. Okay, so here's another lesson. I was seeing that price was starting to push up, and at the 9 o'clock or lunch hour for New York, it was respecting the 1 minute fair value gap. It created a little 5 minute fair value gap here, and it was creating some support. So it was starting to push up. I was looking for some type of reaction up here in the 50% area, and also there's old fair value gaps, the old 1 hour and old 15-minute fair value gap. So that's kind of setting up for the PM session. So I didn't take anything in the AM session, so I'm having a little bit of FOMO in the PM session. And so that's kind of where we pick up in the PM session. All right, so I'm watching this. It's really healthy price action, lots of overlapping candles, lots of, going back and forth up in here. And so that's kind of where I start looking at this push up as a push up towards the end of the day. So I was expecting the breakers to hold if it was going to be bearish and for it to continue down. So that's kind of where I was looking at that. And let's take a look at when I actually took the trade. Okay, so price is starting to approach the breaker. And so I have that breaker set. And you can see here that it pushes up aggressively, leaves that 5 minute fair value gap. And so that was indication number one that I was probably offside. So I just entered that and did not wait for displacement to the downside. So that again is a function of the FOMO that I was probably feeling in the morning. And so this is something that I definitely will do something differently. I will wait for that pattern and be a lot more patient. There's a 4-hour wick right here and a breaker here, and there's a lot of fair value gaps up there. So price just continues to climb and does not create a lot of downside momentum. And so again, I was just kind of looking at this and saying, okay, well, price could turn around, but of course it didn't. And so this is where I lost 1%, and I basically just let that go and just continued to watch this. And I could have closed it at any time, but I didn't. And so this is my first losing trade for the day. Okay, so it did create some displacement there, but it is close to the close of that 5 minute candle. It does not necessarily mean that it was going bearish. So it didn't create displacement in multiple candles. It didn't run away from that fair value gap or that breaker. And so that was again another indication that it just was not going to continue my way. So I just lost that. That was 1.07. And so again, I'm really fixated on that bearish structure. So for my next trade, I did lower the risk, and it was 0.5% risk. And so this is kind of where I'm looking at that 1 minute fair value gap as kind of the indication. And we're also in the algorithm open, so the midnight open of New York time, and this is where I have the algorithm open. We're at a sensitive area. We also have bearish breakers here, and so I'm looking at this as the big beefy bearish breaker potentially, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at. And so I enter on this one as well. So this is 0.5%, and you can just see this looks a lot like a flag. The 5 minute fair value gap here is not disrespected, it's respected, and the consequent encroachment is traded to, is also respected by the bodies of the candles. Okay, so more indications that I'm just not on the right side. And so it does push down a little bit. I do have a little bit of potential for somewhat of a profit, and it's not much, but I'm still fixated on this being that accumulation around the algorithm open and basically wanting that to start falling for the end of the day. So 11:50, this is where the macro is starting to kick in for the last trading hour. And so this is where it's supposed to run to liquidity that hasn't been tapped yet. So that's likely up here, and that is definitely where it's headed. So let's just continue this because it is a losing trade. I do have a little bit of profit that it does push down, and it does respect that 5-minute fair value gap. So not enough displacement to actually warrant any kind of run to the downside. There's way too much imbalance and inefficiencies down here, and maybe those will be tapped in tomorrow. So we'll see. All right, so this turns around and does not respect that 1-minute fair value gap, and it doesn't run down into that 5-minute fair value gap and use it as resistance. So this is the 15-minute or 1-hour breaker that I was expecting, and it did not hold price down. Okay, so let's just keep going. It does go into a little bit of profit and take the short-term low. It does go down to the 5-minute fair value gap and down to the bottom and a little bit outside. However, if you look over here, it's going to close within the consequent encroachment of that fair value gap. So it does take that short-term low and then it starts pushing up and does so while taking me out. So again, this is kind of where I could have closed out at break even, but I chose to just ride it, and I'm okay with that. It's just a 0.5% loss, and unfortunately because of spreads it was a little bit more, and so you'll see at the end of the day I lost 1.6%, and that leaves me kind of underwater with my account. This is where the spread just kind of took me out first, and so 1.6% loss, and this continued up just a little bit further for the day. Okay, so the lessons to be learned here: I didn't trim my risk. I also didn't close my trades when I actually felt like I was offsides, so all things that I might do differently. So no matter what type of sleep that I do get during the night, because I'm in challenges, it's important that I'm actually on the charts at 6:30. So that's kind of something that I'm going to do differently too, is make sure that I have an average of 7 hours per night, but it's going to be an average over 7 days. And that way I'm not putting any kind of pressure on myself to sleep 7 hours every single night. Okay, so those are things that I will do differently. So I actually went out and went for a walk and got some fresh air, went for a walk with my husband and my dog, and really just reset, because quite frankly, we're going to have losing streaks, and these losing streaks are only going to continue to be losing streaks if we focus on the losses. And so I'm going to choose to focus on the lessons. So I need to be on the charts so that I can take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to me, and also take every trade that my pattern presents, because 2 days in a row I've missed my pattern because either I've hesitated or I wasn't on the charts. And so that's another lesson that I'm going to choose to learn and implement in my trading. So let's take a look at my account, and you can see that I managed my risk in a way that actually preserved capital but didn't put me in a hurt locker. Okay, so you can see here it's day 11 of the funded trader, and I am a little bit underwater. So this is the first time that I've been under the $300,000 mark, and so I'm only 0.56 down. And so this is 6 days left in my trading. So next week, next Friday is the last day of my trading, and I did have some losses here. So here's the thing that I'm going to focus on tomorrow, is really going with the trend and trading my pattern. So I'm really excited for tomorrow's trading. I hope that I have some wins to share with you very soon, and I know that that's around the corner, so maybe it'll be tomorrow because it's the last Friday of the month. I'm so grateful that you're here along this journey with me. I hope that you're learning a lot of lessons along the way, and if you want to share some of the lessons that you learned in your trading by reviewing your trades, I'd love to know them down below, so comment below. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel to follow my journey, then make sure that you subscribe below so that you see every trade that I take, as well as when I actually pass these challenges, because I know that that time and that day is coming very soon as well. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next trade. Bye.